I've always been a little self-conscious about my body, either because my mom insisted on putting me in every single beauty pageant this side of Nebraska, or just peer pressure in general. I actually never realized how bad it was until one day I passed out from low blood sugar and Dad found me on the living room floor. He was angry and anxious, telling me that I was starving myself to death. I guess he had a right to feel that way though, because when I got on the scale at the doctor's office, I barely weighed 85 pounds. The number shocked me enough for Dad to decide to get me into a rehab program this summer. He said they had some new type of therapy, especially designed for people with conditions like mine. I knew he really meant that he didn't know how to help me. It was around mid-July when I arrived here, either the 12th or 13th. And the first thing I noticed right off the bat about the place was that most of the people were a lot of young girls around my age at the facility. The head nurse, a woman named Regina, greeted me as I stepped out of the car and shook my hand so hard I thought it might fall off. "Welcome to Next Beginnings. You must be Jade." My dad went to go park the car as Regina started to give me a tour of the grounds. "As you can see, everything here is top-notch to provide you the most comfort and care you can possibly ever want. We want you to feel like this is home and to never want to leave," she told me. I was busy checking my Instagram feed to see if any of my classmates were posting about my new status as a crazy jailbird when she commented about their policies on social media. "We typically try to get our patients to detox from every addiction that we believe is an obstacle to recovery. That can be especially hard in the time we live in now, but I hope you respect that our procedures only allow for a maximum of 2 hours per day for the internet," she said. Suddenly, this wasn't turning out to be as great as I thought it might be. But I begrudgingly obeyed the order, even though I was already thinking of ways to get my phone back less than 30 minutes later. 3 hours after that happened, I made friends with a few girls in the same commons that I was assigned. Bethany and Mackenzie, both about my age. "So how long are you in for?" Kinsey asked me after we made introductions. "Until I get healthy, I guess." "Good luck with that. I've been here almost 90 days and they still think I'm a threat to myself or others," Bethany retorted. "I'm sure it's probably just a misunderstanding," I said to reassure her and myself. I can't imagine being cooped up in this place for that long. I thought that too at first, but then I got my mirror. "Your mirror?" I repeated. "They call it reflection therapy. It's supposed to help you confront your illnesses," Kinsey told me. "Doesn't sound so bad, although I guess if you don't like the way you look, seeing yourself every day in a mirror is probably difficult," I reasoned. "Difficult? That's a way to put it," the first girl said and then waved her hand dismissively. "You'll see when you get your own mirror." That afternoon, I got a chance to talk to my counselor about the therapy they had planned for me. He was an older British gentleman by the name of Marcus de Sade and had a grandfatherly appearance to him, which immediately put me at ease about the misgivings that my new friends had given me. "I want to do whatever I can to get help," I told him firmly. He scribbled a few notes and asked me a few questions before we finally got to the meat of our discussion.
"Did your father tell you that he signed you up for one of our new programs, Jade? It's been extremely helpful to people in your situation,"
Marcus told me. "Is it that reflection stuff that the girls were talking about?" He chuckled softly and told me,
"As a matter of fact, it is. And I'm sorry if you heard any nasty rumors concerning the therapy. It's actually quite harmless."
His demeanor and smile made me feel comfortable enough to ask what the process was all about.
"Regina, our director, had practiced techniques relating to behavioral therapy for about 13 years. During her travel across Europe some time back, she came across a mirror of the most unique material, called Lasser.
He paused as though lost in thought and then remarked,
"It would likely be easier if I simply showed you."
He stood up and gestured for me to follow him down the corridor to one of the quieter hallways. "Quiet as a tomb," I said nervously as he reached into his pocket and filled with his keys. He let me go into the room first and then promptly closed the door behind me once I was inside. "Doctor?" I asked nervously as I turned around and saw him lock the door.
"Part of the therapy requires that the patient is placed in isolation for this session. You'll be perfectly fine as long as you cooperate fully,"
Desade said as he nodded toward me and then walked away. For the first time in my life, I felt claustrophobic. The room was dark and suddenly I felt as though there was not enough oxygen. It took a good 6 minutes for me to calm down and get a good look around. The room was bare. No furniture, no carpet, not even a toilet. The only thing I could see in the darkness was a shiny surface on the west wall. I walked over to it and touched the surface of the glass, realizing that this had to have been the special mirror Marcus claimed would help me. Since my options were limited, I did the most reasonable thing and sat down cross-legged in front of the mirror, waiting for whatever was supposed to happen next. I don't know why, but I expected there to be some sort of jump scare from the mirror, something to make the therapy session even freakier than it already was. Instead, I found myself just sitting there, staring at the frail and repulsive figure that I've been struggling with for 4 years now. Before I knew it, there was a loud tap on the door and the lights came on. Marcus and another doctor came into the room.
All right, Jade, you're all done. You can go back into your room now.
The second man said. I stared at them a bit, dazed and confused as they helped me to my feet. What? That's it? That's all there is? I asked as they helped me into the wheelchair. It felt weird to stand up and move. As the orderly pushed me back to my room, I couldn't help but be amazed at how simple the process had been. Beth and Kinsey must have been wrong, or so I thought. When I got back to my room, I thanked the orderly and went to the bathroom to clean up for dinner. When I went in and turned on the light, I shrieked at the top of my lungs. My reflection in the bathroom mirror, a dirty, bloody mess. There were small cuts on my arms and legs, and my clothes were stained with sweat and piss. 2 nurses rushed in to get control of me and sedate me as I shoved the door to the bathroom closed, trying to figure out what the hell I'd just seen. When I woke up, I demanded to talk to Dr. DeSade immediately, but they told me he wouldn't be returning until next week. So instead, I made my way to the Commons to see Beth and Kinsey. Only the latter girl was there eating her breakfast as I came in, and her eyes widened as she saw me approach her. Kinsey stood up and hugged me tight as she tried not to cry, and I whispered, "I need to talk to you." Her eyes shifted around the room suspiciously as she muttered, "Not here." So we agreed to meet out near the library where we pretended to use the past to surf the internet. I even started writing down this whole experience for my own sanity. "Are you okay?" Kinsey asked me once we were able to speak freely. "I'm fine, but I have so many questions to ask you," I told her. "I do too. Starting with where have you been for the past 3 months?" she chided me. I blinked. "What?" "Jade, it's November. I haven't seen you since you went to therapy."